So while Melinda's getting this up and running, I just want to introduce myself for the people who don't know me. So I'm Kylie Hanisch, and I am founder of Return to Zero Hope. I'm a bereaved mother. As I mentioned, my son Norbert was stillborn um, July 12th in 2005, and he had a liver cyst that burst late in pregnancy. And I guess he just fell asleep, 35 weeks. And I started hosting weekend retreats for moms who have had losses. And then it kind of grew into the nonprofit, where I'm really passionate about education, whether it's education to empower bereaved parents who've been through this, because I had horrible experiences and just didn't get any guidance. And if I would have known certain things, it would have made the experience so much better. And education for providers, really helping them increase their confidence and their knowledge in supporting parents going through this type of a loss. So it's my pleasure today to introduce Melinda Peterson, who is our board chair. And I'm going to let her talk about herself, but she attended a retreat with me 2015 up on Whidbey Island, and that's where I met her, and we kind of stayed in touch over time. And she had a near-death experience, and so I just love, with my lost mom friends, being able to dig deep into the spiritual side of things. And that I'm so grateful, Melinda, for you for really being willing to share about your experiences, and also contributing to Return to Zero. But just really, this stuff is so good. And no one's talking about loss in general, this type of loss, but then there's such a beautiful side that we can explore, and how do we remain connected to our babies who are on the other side. So I'm going to stop talking and just thank you all for joining us. We will have Q&A at the end. But if there's anything that you need to ask or tell me, I'm going to be managing the chat box while Melinda's talking. And so just feel free to write any messages in there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kylie, for that incredible introduction. It is my honor to work with Return to Zero Hope, and ever since I went to the retreat, that was kind of the transition in my journey from being in excruciating pain to starting to actually take the steps toward healing and being able to heal and welcoming the healing process. And so I really appreciate the work that Kylie does with Return to Zero, and it's certainly helped me, and it's helped everybody that I've touched in my life as well, just because when I started healing, they started healing as well. So thank you. And I get choked up about this just thinking about it, so bear with me. As Kylie was saying, she'll be managing the chat, so if you say something or ask a question, I may not see it, but she might just interrupt me, and if it's something that we want to address right away. But feel free to chat away, since I don't have to manage both, because it's a little bit kind of hectic to try to do both. I really want to center in and talk to you today. So we're going to talk about just receiving and recognizing messages from our baby, and really any loved one from the other side. There are a few things that are involved in this. Of course, there's the spiritual side. There's also the fears and the doubts that we bring into it, and say, is this really what's happening? Is it okay to feel this way? So we're going to explore some of that today. We're also going to look at some of the common methods, the ways that the other side sends messages, and the ways that we can further attune to that as well. And we're also going to talk about mindful listening, which is, again, it's that attuning piece. It's kind of that, how do we quiet our mind? How are the different ways that we can calm ourselves down or to even to notice if we get a surprise message, whether or not that is the surprise message, how we can recognize that as well. And then we're going to talk about some gratitude and thanking your baby and just for this experience. And it's such a powerful and spiritual and emotional experience that we're able to receive as human beings and as spirits of the universe. And I think it's really important that we send that love back, and we send that love with gratitude. So a little bit about me, and Kylie spoke so beautifully about it as well. I had my son Oak in March of 2014. So he would be 6. And as she said, I was very sick and in a coma due to placenta accretia and a uterine rupture. And through this experience, I did have a near-death experience, and I'm not going to get into so much detail. I'll kind of talk a little bit about that experience as we move forward today, but it's a whole nother topic, so I won't be getting into that specifically so much today, but it kind of informs what I will be discussing today as well. And so I had a long journey of the actual physical healing process. I didn't actually grieve the loss of Oak until a lot later, just because I was getting myself healthy and going through physical therapy and all the therapies in the hospital. And that's what happens. I mean, sometimes we have to, as mothers, we have to heal our physical selves until we, before we can get into all of the other pieces, but they're also all connected, which we'll talk about as well. So after, or as a result of my journey, I changed my career and became a nurse. I was so inspired by nurses and what they do and how they contribute to the physical healing process and also the emotional healing process. And I also wanted to become a nurse so that I could inform the bereavement and loss process from my perspective, because I know there's still a lot of work to do in that arena as well. And as Kylie mentioned, there's a lot of work from the provider side, there's a lot of work in the nursing side, wherever in the hospital they work or whatever kind of clinic they work in, there's always work to be done to improve their care with mothers and fathers and parents and partners who are experiencing loss. So today, I just wanted to clarify some of the language I will be using. I'm going to try to just remain kind of spiritually, religiously neutral. And so I will be using terminology like the other side, as opposed to using the word heaven. There's not, whichever way that you prefer to call it is up to you. For me, just for today's presentation, I'll be using the terms other side and crossed over, meaning when somebody passes. So I'm going to get started with talking about some releasing fears and doubts. And what I would like to do is a short heart opening exercise. So if all of you can just kind of calm down and get into your chair, settle into wherever you're sitting and close your eyes. This exercise is just going to help kind of open that side of us that we sometimes don't listen to because we're so busy and we're running around. So we're just going to kind of quiet all that down and just be here in the moment. And this is a short exercise you can do anytime, anywhere. Notice your feet on the ground. Notice your hands on your lap. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears, back and down. And then bring attention to your hands. Notice around your hands a vibrant green color circulating and pulsing around them. As you watch it, the color enhances and invites warm feelings of blissful love. Bring your hand or your hands along with the green that they carry and place them on or near your heart. Hold it to your heart and watch the green light expand and transfer to the area around your heart. This vibrant green spreads across, within, and around your heart. Say to yourself in your mind, today I open to love, possibility, and connection. Take a deep breath. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes and return to the room. Okay. So some of the normal fears that we experience in thinking about connecting to our babies on the other side and receiving messages relate to the social experience. So are we concerned about judgment? Are we concerned about the lack of understanding from others? Are we concerned that our mothers, parents, sisters, friends won't understand or think that we are crazy when we talk about messages we're receiving from our babies or ways that we're communicating with our babies? Those are often common fears. The other fears are emotional. Maybe we're a little bit too nervous to go there because we're worried about bringing up and dredging up some more grief. Or it incites some kind of a panic because it means that we recognize that the baby's on the other side, and that gives us a sense of panic, and it's hard for us to stir that up. Or maybe we have some limiting beliefs. We're not quite sure that this is even a thing, that we can connect to our babies on the other side, that we can have this relationship going forward as they're on the other side. Some of the physical fears that you might experience, or the physical manifestations that you might experience from these fears, are dry mouth. You might notice a stomach issue. Maybe you have some nausea, or constipation, digestive issues. Eye strain is a common one. Maybe you're noticing you have to squint your eyes a little more. Neck and back pain, very often. Grief and fear is held in our backs and our necks. So if you notice that you're having a lot more neck and back pain, it might be worth looking into where are you fearful. Headaches as well, very common in a fear-based physical manifestation. Increased heart rate and shallow breathing. Some of the intellectual sides of the fears related to connecting with your babies on the other side are you have a trouble rationalizing it. It's unknown, especially, for a lot of people, this is their first loss, or it could be their first loss really in their family unit or their friend unit ever. And so it's just very unknown, or it conflicts with their belief system. So the permission to release today, and this is how to kind of work through some of these fears and doubts. With the social side, it's just remember that when you're feeling this pressure from others in your social community, that maybe you can't talk about these messages because they don't believe it. Those could be some of their own fears that are holding them back, and you have a right to make your own choices around sharing. So if you feel that your partner or your mother thinks that it doesn't make any sense and it's not real, you can make your own choices. If you receive a message from your baby, you can say, maybe I'm just going to hold that in my heart today, or maybe I will share if you feel kind of like you really think it's important to share. And then I really encourage you to be part of, as Kylie said earlier, a lot of you are joining the RTZ support groups. I really encourage you to lean into your other lost mamas with these as well, because I've noticed in my own healing that the lost moms that I connect with have their own stories of connecting with their baby, and it's pretty powerful, and it's really nice to do that with each other. Some of the emotional, releasing the emotional fears, it's valid, it's healthy. There actually are mental health benefits to connecting to your loved ones on the other side. There have been multiple studies about the grief, the healing, the grief process, and working through some of the anxieties and depression and panic and all of these things that result from having a very difficult loss. Having a relationship with the other side can actually start to release some of that, those mental health effects. And so it's something that, it's one of the tools I think that sometimes some therapists will use as well, is to say, it's okay to start to have this relationship, and it's okay to notice these things that are happening, because it's actually good for your mental health. Physical, yawning is actually helpful. So if you notice that you're yawning, you might just actually be kind of releasing some of that pressure that you're receiving in your chest and your neck area. Tapping, that's a specific tool where you tap to different body energy centers in your body, and it's something you can learn probably by watching a video. Yoga Nidra is actually, it's a type of meditation that you use to sleep and to dream. And what's nice about Yoga Nidra is you can actually go very, very, very deep in your dreaming process, and sometimes you can receive messages as well through your dreaming process. And then breath work and meditation, progressive muscle relaxation. So if you feel those muscles really tight, there's an exercise you can do where you progressively throughout your body release those muscles. And on the intellectual side, intuition is really important, and that's something that we have as parents, and I'll get a little bit more into that in a minute here. There are multiple expert studies as well about the other side, and as more near-death experiences happen, as our medical care gets better, we're starting to realize more and more about how these events happen and how we do have some connection to the other side, and that we're not using our brain and our energy at full capacity. And as these things start to emerge, we will start to see this more. Spiritual leaders, there are many spiritual leaders who address this and are comfortable with relationships on the other side. Meditation again, and then prayer is a good way to kind of work through that inability to rationalize, is just to let it go and give it to your higher power. So the parent's intuition this is like one of the best. I love this, because this is one of the best gifts that we have as parents and as mothers, in my particular experience. It's this gift of transformative love that allows us to understand and sense our child's expressions and feelings and their guidance. And it's something that, and those of you who have living children, and I don't personally, but those of you who have living children, and even if you don't, you notice that you can tell what's going on in the other room, even if you're not in the room, or if you're connected to a niece or nephew, or same kind of thing, a child. You start to develop this parent intuition. You can tell if they're sad before they even tell you they're sad. You know, that's your intuition. And it's actually developed over generations of experience. And so, you know, as our cells move through the journey of, you know, okay, we're a piece of our mother, she's a piece of our mother, and our cells continue through the journey. And then we have our child as well. Our cells actually have a type of memory, and that adds to our intuition. So it's developed over generations. And so that's where, when you start to think, well, how do I have this intuition? How do I know so much? Or how do I have this gut instinct that I can trust so well? It's because it actually comes from your ancestors, passed down many generations. It's pretty cool, pretty powerful tool. It is based on our true self, which means you have your self that's running around and busy and doing your job and doing all these things you need to do, housework and whatever to get through the day. Your true self is that person that you actually can sit with, you dream with, you love with. That's your true self. And so it's kind of almost like your own higher power. And so the intuition, again, is super powerful because it's ultimately that true self that you're connecting with. And it's an eternal bond between you and your baby. That's something that you have personally that no one can take away and no one can change. So some of the common methods of sending messages. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about how it's all possible. Okay. So I have done a lot of, so I have my near-death experience, and I've also done a lot of healing energy work as well in studies. And so most of us are really familiar with the chakra system, or if you're not, that's fine too. It's on this outline here. The chakra system has, you know, the 6 different chakras that go from your root up to your crown. And those are the ones that we most commonly identify with. We also have energy fields that resonate from an inch from our body all the way out pretty much indefinitely. And that's the kind of thing, those are those energy fields where animals can sense if a predator is approaching without even hearing it or seeing it, and they just kind of know, they start to feel something entering their energy field. That's that sense. And we have it too. We can tell if someone's kind of looking at us. Have you ever had that experience where someone's looking at you, so you turn around, or someone's coming toward you from another direction, you can't see them, but you can tell there's something there. That's all energy field communication. And so we're using our senses, we're using our normal senses, touch, sight, hearing, but we're expanding on this with these energy fields. And it's really cool because also we can work with these fields, we can clear them, we can build them, we can grow them, and so that we can have better connections and with the other side and just with our senses here on Earth. But so I could talk forever about these, but for today I'm going to focus on kind of level 6. Really all the levels from 4 to 7 are how we connect to the other side, or how we connect to the universe or the higher power, higher beings. And level 6 is really the love and the inspiration that comes from the other side. It comes from communicating with the other side, and it provides us with this bliss attitude of, there's more than just this. There's more than just my everyday life. There's more than my situation right now. There's something else out there that is loving me and is guiding me and is communicating with me. And that's kind of where level 6 is. And when someone crosses over, and I experienced this in my own near-death experience, but also as a nurse, seeing people in the passing process and when they're crossing over. When I crossed over, I did see beings that I knew or were familiar with who had already crossed over, and they looked like light. And so my understanding from this experience was that they may not look like you and I look, with skin and hair and nails, but we know it's them. It's a knowing without having to say anything, without having to see them as they were, without having to communicate verbally. we know it's them. And I also see this too with my patients who have passed. They start, as they're in the passing process, they start to say, you know, hello to their mom who's passed away 40 years ago, or, you know, maybe they had a child who died, maybe they had a baby who died years ago, and then they start saying hello to these people, or they start recognizing them and smiling, and it is really a powerful experience. So that's where that kind of energy field starts to play in. Babies in particular are closer to this celestial layer because they're so new to the human experience. And so their ability to connect to this energy body is a lot, it's a lot more developed. That might not be the best word, but because they're so new to the human experience. And whether or not they come into the human experience fully, or whether they live for a short period of time, they still have their energy fields, particularly this one, is still very well connected to us and then to kind of the world. Of course, anybody of any age who crosses over is able to send messages, but babies have a particular way of, just because, like I said, it's so well, they're so much closer to it from the beginning, that they just have, plus the fact that parents have such a strong intuition, those two combined makes a really powerful experience. So basically, it's kind of like, I like to describe it as almost like tuning into a radio channel. When we tune in and we recognize this message, and they're tuning into their channel and they're sending one, it kind of works in this balance so that we can hear whatever, and I say that as it could be something visual, we'll get into that, but it could be multiple ways that we receive this message. We receive this message when we're both tuning in kind of that same channel. And it's kind of up to us to notice that that's what they're doing. And it's also kind of up to us to open up to our senses that we may not normally think. So we might think of, you know, communicating as hearing a voice. And in this case, it's not necessarily going to be that. It could be seeing an image, or it could be finding an acorn on the ground, or, you know, something like that. So it's our opportunity to be open to that possibility and what it might look like. That's a little bit different than what we're used to here on Earth. And some of the ways that we can kind of clear and expand this field in particular, any of these fields, so that we can open up a little bit more to this communication, is through meditation, prayer, energy healing. Again, like I mentioned, you can really expand these, or clean them up if you're receiving too much from other fields as well. Writing a letter to your baby is really, really powerful. Sometimes that can help you receive a message. Journaling. And then other ways that we channel energy fields too are through art, music, and dance. Those are really powerful methods. Dance is one that I've seen quite often in some of our healing retreats. And when you just kind of like let your body go and you're not so much in your head, sometimes that's a possibility for these messages to come through. And I also just want to say too, one more thing about message sending is that, you know, right now I'm speaking into a computer, I'm speaking into a microphone. It's being translated into ones and zeros, and it's going through this Wi-Fi experience, and then it's coming into your screen, and it's coming in with my voice and my image and the image on the screen. If you think about how amazing that is, like, just think about how amazing that is. Like, that just kind of goes to show you that the ways that we receive and provide messages is really endless. Like, there's such a huge possibility. I mean, we can explain it, you know, through, yes, there's the internet and there's the computer screen and all that, but we can't really go to the depth of it and say, this is why this is all happening. really at the end of it all is energy, and that's what we're talking about here. But it's pretty powerful. So here are some of the common methods of sending messages. So animal experiences. So sometimes people will say deer, or they see baby bunnies, or and this can be in actual wildlife, or this can be on an image like a painting or a sculpture. Sometimes I lost my train of thought. Well, anyway, so it can be through a painting or a sculpture. Oh, or even a song. Like sometimes a song, you get in your car, you're having a particularly rough day, and a song comes on and they say, a word like deer, or, and you're like, and it just kind of hits you. That could be a message. Wind and air shifts. So if, you're enjoying some time outside and it's just been all of a sudden, it's been very calm, and all of a sudden there's just this wind that kind of scoops through, and your body kind of notices that and tunes into it. That's a message. And electrical energy is a big one. So that's lights that turn on or lights that turn off when you enter the room. Maybe you get a weird text message that didn't come from a real number, or you get a text message that just has a heart or something that you weren't expecting, or you have issues with your electrical system, or issues with your television, or issues with your computer, something that is out of the ordinary. That is definitely or can be a message. Numbers, this is a big one. Noticing, and I don't know about you, but I've been noticing a lot of numbers lately, and I think it's because of all the craziness that's going on in this year, that we're still getting some of these messages from our loved ones on the other side. Numbers is huge. 1111 is probably the most common, but I've seen them in 222 is a big one. Sometimes people will see the date of the day that their baby was born in the clock. Every time they look up, they notice the time, and it's the date of the baby, when their baby was born. Big one is numbers. Songs. So yeah, maybe you just get in your car and turn on the radio and there's a special song, or maybe you are sitting at home and you turn on your Pandora or something, and there's a specific song that you identify with as part of your pregnancy or part of your loss, and it just kind of pops up first thing. That's a powerful message. Feathers, stones, and nature items. So there's a lot here. Sometimes people connect with feathers, and babies send feathers, so you'll see just a bird feather somewhere, or you'll see particular kind of stone or a nature item. So for me, it's oak leaves, since my son is named Oak. And so those are I'll find oak leaves in like really weird places. Like one time I found one in the trunk of my car, and it hadn't even been open. So I just say thank you, Oak, for sending me that message, and I smile. And yeah, and I've seen them in the middle of the winter and the snow. It's just really cool. Coins and cards. Coins, that's a big one. Pennies especially, I've noticed. I've heard from a lot of people that pennies show up when they're getting messages, when they're receiving messages. Street signs or signs. Street signs, maybe you see one with your baby's name in it, or you see some kind of a sign like so I had a friend who unfortunately passed away last year, and she was supposed to turn 40, and on her birthday, I was walking through the park, and they had a couple just those yellow cones set up, and one of them had the number, she was supposed to be turning 40, one of them had the number 40 on it, and none of the other ones had any numbers on it, but this particular one had the number 40 on it. So of course I thank her for that message as well. Light and colors, and maybe you see a certain color that reminds you of your baby, or is a message from your baby, a green, or or a particular kind of lighting that really just all of a sudden kind of tunes you in and makes you think that you're receiving or makes you believe that you're receiving a message. Excuse me. Scents are big. Those on the other side tend to send scents. So this is particularly too with a lot of times with people who have crossed over who are older. Maybe perhaps they smoked a certain type of cigar or something and you smell the cigar. But it can happen with babies as well. Maybe it's some kind of a scent that you remember from, your experience in the hospital or something that kind of, and that pops up out of nowhere. That's particularly a message. Physical experiences, that's just kind of something you feel, like whether you feel all of a sudden like your heart gets really warm, or you get goosebumps, you're just for no reason kind of the hair on your arm stands up. That's a message. Movement of and misplaced items, this is another big one too. So sometimes people will say that they could swear up and down that they left their pen on the desk at this particular time, and then they find their pen in another room, or they lose something and it pops up in a place that has some kind of a message. So like they lose their keys and then they find their keys are on this book that they've been thinking about reading for months, but they haven't read that book yet. And so it's a message from the baby saying, hey, maybe it's time to check this book out. Telecommunication, that's just anything with like emails, phones, again, computer type. You can receive messages through, maybe somebody sends you an email, and like in my case, with leaves and the acorns, maybe they say something like, they're like, I found this really cool quote that says, you're a seed, and yada yada, whatever the quote is. That is a message as well. Or you open up your news feed and there's like something that is a message. That would be another way of telecommunication. Spiritual imagery, some people really resonate with angels and the angel imagery and a specific type of angel or of a color of angel, and those are messages as well. Dreams are a big one. Dreams are a great place to connect because we're not as busy with our everyday life, and so we're actually slowing our body down. We're going into a different type of consciousness, and in that consciousness we're more open to these energy centers. And so dreams are a great way for them to visit and for you to visit. So if you've had a dream I would love to hear about it. If you've had a dream about your baby visiting you, if you had a great experience with your child when they were older, all of those things, those are visits, those are messages. And it's actually pretty cool that we're able to do that. And then deja vu and coincidences. So that experience that you get where you feel like you've been somewhere before, or just these strange coincidences that you notice, those are also messages as well. And it's a message, particularly if you notice that the deja vu happen, like, oh, this place, I've never been to this place, but it seems oddly familiar. And then you get the message of your son or daughter's name. That's often a message, like, okay, so for some reason, Oak wants me to be here, or Oak, this was part of my situation. This is part of my story here on Earth, is for me to be in this particular place.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I just want to, like, for all of you who are joining us right now, I'd love to hear, like, from that list, like what, and it's hard. Some of you, or most of you have very recent losses, but I know, like, my son came to me very early after he passed. He comes to me as a white butterfly. But I just type in the chat box, like, I just love, both of us, right, would love to hear, like, have you received messages from your baby, and how so?
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to hear it. I love all these stories. I could totally nerd out about these stories. all the time. I just love these stories.
Okay, so Melinda, I'll read these to you.
Okay, awesome.
So Mallory says, I woken up twice with this feeling of wholeness in my heart that I knew that Lincoln's spirit was with me all night. It was unreal, and I woke up with overwhelming completeness, but it's only happened twice. And Looney said, air shift, light when I close my eyes, calming or peace.
That's beautiful. Is there a particular color light, or is it just kind of like a white light?
White, she says, white.
Definitely.
And I think some of this, like, I feel for me, I never told anyone about the butterfly, or anything else that happens until I started talking to other lost moms. I didn't think I was crazy, but I was like, I can't tell anyone this. So I think really just opening it up and being able to talk about it, it's like, this is really happening. So, okay, Stephanie says, I like to think that Vincent visits me in the form of a red cardinal. So yeah.
Ooh, birds. Birds are wonderful messengers.
Yeah, like birds, butterfly,
Birds
hummingbirds.
Yes, because birds are really tuned into their energy centers, because that's how they locate their nests every year. That's how they, I mean, of course, there's science behind this as well, but there's a lot of energy science behind. That's how they, where they know how to go. They follow energy. And so birds are really clued into that energy, those energy fields. So birds are huge messengers. And butterflies, same thing. Dragonflies.
Okay, Looney said that she also saw a red cardinal a couple times. So yeah, I think just like right now you're going to be more aware. We're not even done yet, but you're going to be really aware of kind of things that may have been messages, but you didn't necessarily know. So Cindy says, I always see hawks following me when I travel far by car. 3 of them, my parents and my son. Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
And then Amy is receiving messages, she said, through her dreams. Audrey just turned 7 months, and in a recent dream, she let me know how she was doing and what she's like. It's really cool.
That's so cool. The dream experience is so powerful, and it's if you guys are open to yoga nidra as an experience, and you can do it for free through Insight Timer, or probably even YouTube or something. That's a really great way to get further into your dreams, and it's actually for more restful sleep as well. If you're really into the dream experience, I highly recommend it.
And then Elizabeth says she dressed up Asher like an octopus for Halloween. And then she said the Beatles' Octopus's Garden song has come on the radio a few times when she starts her car.
That's so cool. Love that.
Millie says her son sends a brown butterfly, hummingbirds, and eastern bluebirds. And there's also the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Israel. Okay, I'm gonna butcher the last name, but I know which version that is.
The Hawaiian man.
Mm-hmm. Hawaiian, yeah. Mm-hmm. So a lot of ways, Millie, that he's communicating with you. Jennifer, she said, I've seen lots of various signs of grandparents sending reassurance to parents that their babies are safe. Smells, songs, and coins. Stephanie, another different Stephanie, says, Juniper comes to me as a young woman in a daydream I had while soaking in a bath with juniper essential oils. And we shared a dance to some jazz by Stan Getz. Oh, that's beautiful.
Love that.
And Alexandra, she saw a black small butterfly with yellow spots on the ceiling of her bedroom. Wow.
Wow.
That's cool. And there's also 2 dragonflies flying over Peter's grave when we buried him.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, Corrine says she's still searching. That's why she's here. Well, now I guarantee that you will be more aware and able to recognize when there are things. Mallory says, my dad keeps finding pennies all the way to Lincoln's birth And after his death, still, he knew it was a sign and still is a sign.
Mm,
Cool.
that's so
And
cool.
I love that it's your dad because, right, like sometimes it's like a lot of times it's just like our thing, but like when other people can share in it, it's really cool.
Absolutely. And isn't pennies interesting too? Because who uses pennies anymore? And yet they're really wonderful messengers and they keep showing up, even though we're not really using them on a day-to-day basis. They're really incredible.
Okay, we're gonna go back. I'll mute myself. But thank you all for sharing. Like, wait, there's one more. Hold on. Cindy said, yeah, these are fun to read. While sitting with a psychic, my past father told him, an Elvis fan, that they were caring for my son by referring to the fact that Elvis's twin was stillborn.
Wow.
That's really powerful.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah, very cool.
Thank you all for sharing. It's neat to see. It's neat to see that you guys are receiving messages already, most of you, and are aware of it.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. I love that. Oh, just it just really connects all of us as mothers and all of us on this journey as well. Just to know that we have these beautiful stories, and whether you feel comfortable sharing them or you don't feel comfortable sharing them, you know that you have us as your safe space. But I also, as you move forward in your journey, maybe you will find more courage to share these, because as you share, you're going to notice that more people share as well about their own experiences, and we all have them. We just don't talk about them, and I think that we should, because it really connects us to each other and it connects us to the other side in such a powerful way. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about mindful listening. We have a group here that has noticed already a lot of messages, so I'm just going to kind of summarize what you might be experiencing here, and different ways for those of you who have not yet found your messages. They will come, and this is just a way to kind of tune into it a little bit more. So I love this proverb, and I'm also going to read you a small little. So the book Signs is it's on our What We Love from Return to Zero, on the Return to Zero Hope website, and it's by Laura Lynn Jackson. And if you're really into this, I recommend at some point reading this book or getting it from the library. Anyway, I'm going to read a little. She has these 4 truths, and these are the 4 truths. We are all constantly being watched over by a team of light. We are loved. We are all connected and invested in one another's journeys. And when you ask for signs from the universe speaks back. So here are some tips on mindful listening and receiving some of these messages, or recognizing when they're coming in. Practice. So it takes practice sometimes, just to kind of be comfortable in your own skin, and to be comfortable with really with everything, with what happened. I mean, there's still so much grief involved that sometimes it feels weird, strange to go here. So just kind of practice with it, play with it a little bit, and don't pressure yourself. But just the more you practice, it's like anything, it's like a muscle. The more you practice tuning in and kind of noticing these messages, the more you'll start to feel comfortable with it, the more you'll start to receive them. Anticipating the unpredictable. So that's, you might be having this wonderful, beautiful spiritual experience, and you don't receive a message. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. And you were kind of thinking, where was he? Why didn't I, didn't I get anything? And then maybe 2 days later, you're sitting in an office or something, and you get a message. it just, the timing is different. So there's really, we have a structured time here on Earth, you know, where we say it's 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. On the other side, there's no structured timing. And so it's just all kind of timeless. So their timing may not necessarily match up directly with our time. So anticipating that unpredictable, and, you know, like some of those beautiful stories too, where the song came on, that's, I'm sure, you know, a situation where, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Was unpredicted. Pay special attention to birthdays, holidays, celebrations, especially your baby's birthday, beginning from like a month. I would say even a month around your baby's birthday, they start to kind of tune in a little more. Those are good times. And as well as like the holidays, the typical kind of winter holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmases, all those holidays, those can be a tough time. And so sometimes our babies will come in with messages to remind us that we're okay and that they're here around those times. Pay special attention as well to the transition or passing of loved ones, other loved ones, be it a grandfather, grandmother. If you're involved in that process, those are really, because that energy field is a little more open, those are really opportune times for messages to come through, and sometimes in abundance. Even though they're hard times, those are the times that, again, these energy centers. So I would say that, of course, you need to go through that grieving process, and this is part of that grieving process for your loved one, is to say, okay, what else is the universe telling me in this that I can tune into, that's a message of love for that person and for me. Consider selecting a location or a time of day. Maybe there's a particular place in nature that you like to tune in, or a special time of day. Like a lot of times people will say in the morning, like, and particularly when we dream, it's kind of between that 3 to 5 a.m. or having the REM sleep where we have some of this deep experiences. Early in the morning are really common times for messages. So like maybe if you wake up at 5 or 6 a.m., I'm not saying you have to, but, or just kind of tuning in early in the morning, those are really good times for something about the transition between the evening and the day, and also the transition between the day and the night, the sundown experience as well. You might want to kind of pay attention to that. Consider creating a special space or ritual. So maybe you create like an altar of your baby's pictures, your baby's items, a place where you can go and you can just be with your baby, and or a particular ritual as well. Maybe you know, you dance and then you sit down and you just meditate for a little while, or you know, maybe you have certain stones that you carry around, or a certain song that you listen to kind of get you in that headspace. Let go of frustration and trying too hard. So I think that's something that we of course, we really want to connect to the other side when we have this kind of loss, or really any kind of loss. And so we almost get frustrated saying, okay, please send me a message, please send me a message. I just want to know you're okay. And that's a very real human thing to do. And I just want to invite in the possibility that maybe we can just take a step back from that a little bit, and just, like I was saying before, how our timeline in grief, which, as we know, there's a before and after, and our timeline in grief doesn't exist anymore, because you grieve forever. It changes as time moves on, but you grieve forever. There's no like 1 year and you're good kind of thing. We all know that now from having this experience. And so, and on the other side, there's no like I was saying earlier, it's a timeless experience. And so they're not experiencing time. They're not on our timeline. And so it just might take a little time from our experience. So I just invite you to just kind of work toward softening to that a little bit, and trying too hard. Be open to other babies on the other side. This is a big one. So because of the Return to Zero groups that I'm in, and the retreat, and all these other moms that I've met, I've received messages from some of their babies, and they've received messages from Oak, and sometimes they come together, and it's a really unique and cool experience. Like that oak leaf I shared in that other slide had a heart in it, and so one of my fellow lost mamas, Joanna, she sees her daughter Mallory in hearts, and she saw that oak leaf with the heart in the middle, and so our babies were connected on the other side, and so she shared with me that photo, which I thought was really amazing. Also, if you're in an uncomfortable or a very emotional situation, you know, you lost your job, or you know, a partner or something is happening, or you're having to move, or something is uncomfortable, and messages will often come to just to say hi, I love you. And a lot of times it's hard to notice that because you're so involved in what's happening in front of you. Just notice that you might start to see messages and hear messages at that time to kind of confirm to you that you are loved. And then to journal about your experiences. There's so many that I have that I wish I had written down, and I remember a lot of them, and I try as best I can to journal them, but I really love seeing the collection of all the experiences. And the more that you read about them and the more you kind of internalize them, the more you open those channels and the more you resonate with more messages as they come through. And some of the steps to just mindful listening, and this is not, you don't have to be like sitting on a lotus flower in the middle of a, you know, of a nature area or something. You can do this anywhere. You can do this while you're taking a walk. You can do this while you're in the shower. You can really anywhere. And what this is doing, it's not necessarily saying like, okay, I'm going to call my loved one right now. I'm going to call my baby right now, and they're going to respond right away. Again, there's that whole time versus timeless thing. So what it does is it just kind of gets you into that practice mode again of saying, okay, I'm here and I'm willing and I'm inviting in the possibility of receiving these messages. And so some of the steps would be just kind of slowing your breathing down, just kind of relaxing your body, clearing your mind. So what that means is obviously you can't stop all thoughts, but just noticing your thoughts and saying, okay, you know, I'll get back to you later. You can just keep on moving and I'll get back to you later. Right now, I'm just going to kind of try to keep my mind real clear and open for that possibility. Just kind of be ready. And then engaging all the senses. So again, as we talked about, messages can be sent through sight, sound, touch, all those things. So you just want to kind of open up and say, what can I feel? What can I hear? What can I sense? And acknowledge your relationship. Like you have such a powerful bond being a parent, and just say, wow, I am a mother and I have this relationship with my baby, even if this baby isn't here on earth with me. And you can you can mentally nudge, just say, hey, you know, hey, Oak, lovingly call in, say, hey, I'm here if you want to say anything, if you want to send a message. And then just kind of be present with this, continue to clear your mind, just kind of, again, if those thoughts come in of, I need to go do X, Y, and Z, just kind of say, okay, I respect that. Right now, I'm focusing on this, and let that pass. And then just like soften your body, allow it, and send some gratitude. Just say, okay, whenever you're ready, Oak, I appreciate you, and I thank you for sending me messages. And that gets to thanking your baby. So, oh, I just wanted to add to one more thing is that I forget whose name it was, but she mentioned working with a psychic. That's another way too that you can, you know, mindful listening. You can work with a psychic. You don't have to though. You can go direct, and you know, or any kind of healing person you can work with if you choose to. There are many tools to get to messages. That's completely up to you, but you can also go direct. There's no shame in either way, or through a spiritual leader, you know, whatever you choose. Okay, thanking your baby. So I just wrote a little, it's real short. It's just a little piece on how I choose to thank Oak for the messages, and I'm just going to share this with you. And you can share, you can thank your baby in whatever way you choose, in whatever way feels good and feels sacred to you. Thank you for choosing me to be your mama, for sharing your body with mine, for making such an imprint on my heart. I pledge to quiet my busy mind, to be open to possibilities, to honor your moments. I thank you for reaching out to me, for advising me, for loving me, for all the beautiful little reminders you're around. All right, before we get into questions, I'm just going to share with you, I didn't have time to do it on this webinar because I wanted to focus on everything else, but I recorded a meditation to help kind of get you a little bit deeper into receiving messages from your baby. It's on Insight Timer, which is a free app. If you have it, if you don't have it, you can download it using this link, and you just search my name, Melinda Peterson, and it'll come up. Or we can send you the direct link, whatever is easiest. And I encourage you to look at more of what we love on our website, and it has the book signs on there as well. But there are other resources as well. And joining a group like Growth and Healing After Pregnancy and Loss, Infant Loss, or joining the groups, the support groups that Kylie's putting on. There's multiple resources that are available to you for you to dive deeper into this and to talk about some of the messages you're receiving and to just really feel that welcoming energy. And with that, oh, and here's our contact information as well. Thank you. Everyone was so open, and I loved today. So even though it's hard to tell what you're all saying and doing, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I learned new stuff too, so it was good. And I will send out a link to the recording, but I'll include in that email the links to Insight Timer and the other resources, just so everyone can access it easily. So yeah, so let's open up in the chat box questions. So just go ahead and type them in and I'll do my best to keep up. So Looney is asking you, Melinda, do you have a blog or a book about your near-death experience? She needs to write one. She needs to write a book. I already told her.
Yes, thank you. I do need to write one, and it's in progress, but it's been in progress for a little while. So no, I don't currently. Yes, I don't know. See, I mean, I guess the best way to maybe we'll do another webinar, Kylie, where we dive deeper into that or something. We could, yeah. Because I'd love to share, and there's so much more detail. It's just, it's a lot to cover in an hour when we're getting into all these other.
And there's a lot of other moms who have had near-death experiences or near miss. I mean, whatever, like similar, right? Where their life was endangered as well, and their baby died. And I think it could be great. Elizabeth is saying, one of Asher's nurses receives frequent messages from him and she shares them with me, but what are your thoughts about why he keeps connecting with her? Because she is more open to receiving messages.
Interesting. Did she herself have a loss?
No.
No. Okay. It could be that, as nurses, we do experience crossing over and passing more than probably the most people do in the public. And so it does start to open that up a little bit. Not to say that every nurse is open to it, but it could be that she's particularly intuitive with the other side. And it could just be also too that he recognizes her as part of your experience, and so he knows it'll get to you through her. And I think if you are like wanting it to be more one-on-one, I think just give it some of that time again and just kind of work on tuning in. And I believe that he'll speak directly to you as well. But that's actually it's kind of beautiful too that our babies can connect to others as well in our life. And yeah.
Do you, Melinda, well, we're waiting. Do you have any questions for them? Like if we want to ask, I don't know. I'm
going to come out of this presentation mode.
Oh yeah, you can stop the share.
There we go. Now I can see
everything. Yeah, better.
Yeah. Thank you, Mallory. I see you. Is there anything that you'd like to know more about intuition or energy fields, or just kind of that tuning in piece?
Okay, so Cindy is asking, do you think the fact that both us moms and our babies have been through a trauma makes it more easier for us to connect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what trauma does is it pushes us to such a brink of our normal experience that we are kind of almost like forced, that's not the right word, but we're kind of almost just put into a whole nother world. Like, you know how you have, a lot of us lost parents, we have the before and the after times. Like we can tell what a different person we were before this happened and what a different person we are now after. And that's a result of the trauma kind of just turning our world upside down. But when it does that, it also exposes us to this is not all of it, if that makes sense. Like it exposes us to the fact that how can this world do something so hard, and yet we are like on this other side of it. There's got to be more. Like there's got to be more, and there's got to be other connections that we can make. And I think that's when it just kind of, it transitions you into understanding more that of having a more holistic view as opposed to like a kind of a one-sided everyday view.
Okay, and then Millie wrote me, but okay, in the chat, in the Q&A instead of the chat box, do you have any tips on connecting with future babies and children?
Ooh.
That's like a whole, that's a whole nother hour.
That's a whole nother, there's a book called Spirit Babies. Are you familiar with that? That would be worth reading. I believe it's called Spirit Babies. If not, I can tell Kylie and she can respond back to you because I have it somewhere. But it is about that very thing, and it's kind of similar actually. A lot of times, future babies will come through in dreams and or images, names, that kind of thing. So, but the book Spirit Babies gets into it in more detail. Oh, okay.
She says she has. I mean, I think also, pregnancy after loss is a whole nother topic, but like, I think really opening if you start opening yourself up and saying and talking to the spirit of the future baby and saying like, okay, like when the time is right for you, like I'm open, um and understanding that that baby is different from the one who died, because I think a lot of times we're in such a trauma space, that we're surviving, right, and we're so scared and all that, but really saying, like putting it in the hands of that soul or spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say too, if I have a friend who got a loss, and then she was so scared to embrace her future babies that she had so much fear. She really wanted to make a baby blanket for her future baby, and she had so much fear around that. And her therapist just said to her, well, just just take those steps and make it, and just be with it and sit with it and be with your blanket. And that was a really powerful experience for her to call in her living children.
So Melinda, Looney's asking you about if you have had other children.
Oh yeah. So unfortunately, I lost my ability to as part of the experience, and so yeah, that I don't have any living children. Not to say that I'm not open to it in the future, and we'll just see what happens. But at this point, yeah, we're without living children. Oh, my sister asked about colors.
Oh shoot,
Can you
I'm sorry.
explain?
Yes.
That's okay. Can you explain what you mean, Larissa?
And Larissa's typing. I'm gonna go. Stephanie was asking about pregnancy after an atypical preeclampsia. So, I mean, okay, Melinda, you're the nurse here, but I'm gonna say number one, you need a specialist, right? Like a MFM doctor who will monitor you very closely and understand, um, what it is that happened, and what, even before you get pregnant, like what is the plan for protecting you and the baby. Melinda, you can add more.
I think that's really good advice. Definitely seeking the advice of an MFM, maternal fetal medicine doctor, or a high risk OB, and just kind of, I mean, could it happen again? Yeah. You know, but being monitored will be probably the best option for you moving forward.
Yeah, Larissa.
Oh, the green is just that's the heart chakra color. That's why. So that was just bringing in that opening of the heart chakra.
All the chakras have colors associated with them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So that was the
like
heart
on,
center is the green. Go
no,
ahead.
I was just going to say on Insight Timer, you can find chakra meditations as well.
Yes.
If you want to learn more about that.
And purple is one of my favorite colors. That just happened to be the case long before my loss. But purple is related to as well, like your crown chakra, but also how you connect with the other side. So a lot of times angels will show up in purple. So in my near death experience, the light of the beings that I saw, that I knew as loved ones who had passed, and even loved ones that had passed that I have never met, were there, and I knew it was them. They were showing up as like a purple outline. Yeah, I honor your experience, Stephanie. IVF has a whole nother it's got a whole nother piece of, yeah, it's got a whole nother piece of needing support and people understanding your journey. It's a difficult, yeah. It's, if you can find an infertility support group, those are really good if they have one in your area, or you can join one virtually. I guess we can't do really any of these things in person right now anyway. But I can give you a name of one if she's doing virtual sessions. Those are really helpful because only people who are going through IVF and those whole processes or have lost their fertility like I did can really, I mean, it's just it's in a whole nother camp of emotion and in this process. Oh, and thank you, Looney, for saying sorry. I appreciate that. Yeah. A lot of us lost parents experience multiple losses, whether that be friends or family members or jobs, or, you know, there's just like a whole life upheaval that happens when we lose our babies. And, you know, unfortunately, one of my losses was my fertility as well. And of course, I've been working on that for many years in my own self and in my own process. That's where these messages have helped me as well, because I know that I have a connection to my son. And so I still feel very much like I'm parenting a living child, even though I'm not. I don't know, because that intuition is so well ingrained, and the messages that he's sending is so well ingrained that I have I have this relationship. So
Cindy is suggesting we do pregnancy after loss support groups. So yeah, I actually just thinking about that with our group that's in the second session. We don't do them yet because we just started doing these when we had to cancel our in-person retreats because of COVID. And so we're kind of doing this instead. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Cindy. And then Alexandra says, I'm having trouble knowing what is a butterfly sign and what is just nature. You know, like when nature's so abundant, and I would say, number one, you know, deep down, kind of, right? Like, is there a specific butterfly, like that, like the way that it looks, that keeps coming to you, and that's like your son or daughter saying, hi, it's me, mom. And yeah, sometimes, like when we were in Colorado, Melinda, there were so many white butterflies.
so many.
But I do think that with butterflies, aren't they, it was similar to birds. It's like, it's a way for spirits to show themselves. So
they're very well connected to their energy fields. Yeah. And I would just say that, you know, it's, you can fall back on that intuition, right? The parent intuition that we talked about, the generations of knowing in our cells. It's like it's a visceral physical experience. The generation of knowing, or that knowledge that we have that comes from that love and that experience is what you can kind of fall back on, that intuition. So if you're noticing the butterflies and you hear a message in your head, or it just feels like your son is present or daughter is present, like that's very much. And like Kylie said, it can be multiple at once. Oh, Millie, that is so beautiful. Yeah, other children, so other babies who've passed, but also other children. Yeah, like my friend has a 2-year-old, and we were playing in the park one day, and she just picked up this oak leaf, and she wouldn't put it down. Like, she wanted me to take pictures of her with it, and she wanted to like rub it on her face. It was the sweetest experience. I'm like, wow, that's other children, because they're kind of closer to that human, the beginning of the human experience, and they're closer to that other side. And so they're closer to their energy centers and energy fields. So yeah, other children are often, they can bring messages for sure.
I'm just going to throw out there, if no one has any other questions, and I'll do this in the email as well, but are there other topics for webinars that you all would like to see, especially since most of you have recent losses? Like, what do you feel would be helpful to you? And if you have questions after this or ideas, you can email either of us as well. Like if something comes to you later. A webinar specifically for dads. We already have that planned, but the speaker can't do it till September, but we do have that planned. How to talk to subsequent children after loss about their sibling. Yeah, like a whole siblings thing, like not thing, webinar. Yeah. Karine, I get it, yeah. And I think in that webinar could also be siblings who are alive when their sibling died. You know, it could be on both sides, right? Like an older, like before or afterwards. So definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, I would add too how they can have a relationship with their sibling. You know, that's when they're kind of, I mean, they might have one and not even be aware of it, you know, when they're younger, but as they get older, like, and they want to build a relationship or continue their relationship with their brother or sister who died. Yeah, that could be really interesting to cover too.
Okay, I think we're gonna end. I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you, Melinda, so much.
Thank you.
This is good stuff, guys. I'm gonna stop this and then